Hey everybody! Happy Friday, happy autumnal equinox eve, and if you are in the southern hemisphere, happy spring equinox eve. I wanted to hop on and talk about just the magic of this time and the potency, the energetic invitations, and also to dive into the wheel of the year a little bit more deeply and tie up with some practical, tangible lifestyle changes that you can make to really receive the most of this time of year and to align with and sync with the energies, not just, to deepen our spiritual path or deepen our communion with nature, but to also stay at our peak and stay healthy. So many of us suffer from spring or fall allergies, or we get sick this time of year, and that doesn't need to be the norm. That does not need to be the case when we make some shifts and align and really feel into the invitations of this time of year. So fall and spring, its counterpart, are in-between phases. So if we can think of the main part of the wheel of the year, I won't get into all of the different sections, but just the main 4 seasons. If we can think of them kind of energetically and metaphorically as, I like to compare them to the breath cycle, the 4 parts of a breath cycle, and the 4 main phases of a moon cycle, whether it's in our bodies, our menstrual cycle as women, or it's the lunar cycle above. So fall and spring are in between phases, whereas summer and winter are more kind of extreme expressions. So summer is can be thought of as the full moon. It's just out there. There's all this expansion and energy and outwardness and so much light energy. The days are really long. We feel the urge to commune and to socialize and to be really expansive and express and travel and try new things. And so it's this really expressive, expansive time. So summer, full moon. And if we think about it, if the breath cycle, it is the top of the inhale. When you're just so full of breath, it's the top, so full of expansion. So that's how we can kind of relate to that. And then winter is its exact opposite. It's that time of really just the kind of death before the rebirth. So it's really introspective. It's really still, so still, very stagnant, very empty. It's that space after the exhale and before the next inhale. So that just really empty. And I invite you, as you're listening to this, really pay attention to your breaths and take some nice slow ones and feel those 4 distinct parts and kind of just begin to really intuitively feel into these energies. And you can feel them in your own body, and then that can make you more receptive to them outside of you. So summer and winter. And then when we look at spring and fall, they're the in-between phases. There are transitional phases. They are also the times when we are more susceptible to dis-ease, to, physically that can look like catching colds and allergies. And that's also typically the time when we see people will suffer from seasonal affective disorder. It does also affect us in the spring as well. We don't hear about that as much as people struggling with it in the fall, but it's there. So fall, I'm feeling into all these 4 different, very distinct energies at once to be able to explain it to you. So fall is the exhale. It's that time transitioning, coming down from this high place of summer, this high, expansive, outward, gregarious, just all in energy. We begin to kind of recoil and come back in. So we're like just exhaling, it's falling out, we're slowing down, we're downshifting, and we're coming inward before the full empty, stagnant energy of winter. For spring, it's the inhale. It is the unfurling. So we've gone in, this is fall, right? I'm making like, this is like a seasonal interpretive dance, all right? So summer, and then fall, exhaling, curling in, stagnant, totally inward, winter, time of like death and the promise of rebirth coming, and then it's that slow inhale, unfurling, more and more energy, more and more light, more and more expansion until summer comes. And then, it's just, we keep going and going and going. It's the beautiful cycle and spiral of nature. So, and the moon cycles. So summer, full moon, fall is our waning, winter would be our new, and spring would be the waxing. So I just offer these to you to feel into the energies and use these metaphors to like begin to identify how you're feeling in your body and how that also shows up like when the moon is in a certain phase and the different parts of your breath. And now moving into fall, or some of my Southern Hemisphere beauties, I know you're in here, moving into spring. And I'm going to pop a link to a guide I wrote for spring in the comments, so you're not left out. So fall, as I said, it's this time of beginning that descent inward. And it's also the halfway point in the dark half of the year. So the dark half of the year is from summer solstice to winter solstice is the dark half of the year. And winter solstice to summer solstice is the light half. Because every single day, even though, right, like December, January, February can feel very bleak and like, this is dark, this ain't the light half. It is though. Every single day is bringing more and more and more and more and more lightness and brightness until the peak in the summer solstice around June 21st-ish. Okay, so we are now at that halfway point between summer solstice and winter solstice right here at the equinox. So it's this beautiful balance that only happens twice a year, which always gives me such a giggle when I hear us always preaching and kind of like shaming ourselves and each other for like, find balance, be in balance, all things in balance. And it's like, yeah, things exist more in a spiral. So it's not like a fixed balance point. Nothing's ever rigid. It's very dynamic. We shouldn't on anything. We can strive to find the cycle versus a balance because Mama Nature is only in balance twice a year for a very short time on the equinoxes. So I invite you to think of that if you're like ever shaming yourself for like, I need more balance in my life. Find more cycle, find more spiral. Okay, so just a tidbit. Fall, equinox, halfway point. All right, we're right here. It's this beautiful time to celebrate polarities within and dancing with those polarities and seeing that they exist on a spectrum and that they aren't fixed, they aren't rigid, they are always in flow within us and outside of us. So fall gives us this opportunity to begin that really introspective time. So there's a lot of energies and emotions of grief that can surface around this time because there is a introspection and a reflection. And we are looking at what we have harvested thus far in the year, or maybe in our lives. This is also a time I find myself and clients and family and friends kind of not just reflecting on the year, but also reflecting on like one's life up to this point, which is such a beautiful and healthy thing. If, you know, it kind of helps us to know where we would like to go next by taking an assessment of where we are right now and where we are trying to go. Hey, Crystal. Hey, Sean. I'm going to pronounce your name incorrectly. You probably get that a lot. I know I have my whole life. I get Devon, and I've been called Debbie. There's not even a B in my name. I don't know where people get that. So I apologize. Please put it in phonetically if you wouldn't mind. It's so beautiful. I'd love to know how it's pronounced. Anyway, Shawnee. Okay. Thank you. That is really beautiful. Shawnee. Oh, thank you. So, celebrating the polarities within us and really taking time to reflect and get introspective, because we're beginning that my seasonal interpretive dance, right? We're in that part where we're coiling in and looking inward, and it is that this transitional time, and it feels like it can happen rather abruptly, because we've gone from such like expansive, oh my gosh, to like, ooh, kind of like a little bit of a halt, a little bit of a like a letdown. Like the ride is over when you get off of a roller coaster, if you really love roller coasters, or it's like the end of something. So it can bring up a lot of melancholy, a lot of grief, a lot of old resentments or regrets could surface. And so this gives us that opportunity to see what is still here, to see what needs work, what we can work with, what we're still holding in our space, and what we're holding in our bodies. So physically, whatever is showing up for us is also extremely potent and holds medicine and holds messages. And everything right now, I mean, everything always matters. And at these junction points, everything especially matters, because it's like talking to us at this time for a reason. So whatever is showing up right now for a reason. And it's the perfect time as we shift into this equinox portal before we have Halloween, Samhain, for those of you who are like me and prefer those names. Whatever is showing up right now is what is begging for your attention over the next 6 weeks. So in your physical body, in your emotional body, in your mental body, and in your spiritual or energetic body, whatever is alive for you is kind of what wishes to be taken with you as you, my dance, as you come inward. So it's like everything else, okay, but like what is really here, and what do I need to take with me and work with and transmute in the darkness of this time to then like rebirth and unfurl again next year in the spring in the more fertile soil. So what pebbles or grains of sand are here that you can take in and work with to turn into your pearls? Yeah. So that's part of the medicine right now. In a more kind of practical, less esoteric way to really align with this time, we can do things like eating seasonally, which really, if we're aiming to do that in any season, we are always going to be really well taken care of. Things are in season when they're in season for a reason. Mother Nature is brilliant. So right now we have the squashes, the winter squashes, and the sweet potatoes and apples. These are all really amazing and are here for a reason. They are very moisturizing and soothing to the digestive tract, which has kind of been a little bit weak over the summer. When it's hotter, our digestive fire is a little bit weaker. I know that can seem counterintuitive, but it's hot. Well, if you remember what we talked about in summertime, it's like, it is hot, and that's a very fiery process. So our bodies are removing heat from our bodies because it's like hot. So the digestive fire isn't as strong. So now it's starting to be stoked and to pick up. So things like the apples and the squashes are very soothing, very mineralizing, very helpful to our GI tract, as well as kind of signal to the body like, hey, we're downshifting now, and we need to kind of start holding on to some stuff, right? Like holding on to our food and our nutrients, our nourishment a little bit more than when we were just like burning through it in the spring and summer. So eating seasonally. Additionally, shifting your exercise routine is very supportive right now. Beginning to slow it down a little bit. So if you were enjoying more intense things through spring and summer, toning it down now. If you like to run, maybe trading it in for more jogging or walking, restorative and yin yoga over more fiery or strong practices like vinyasa, bar workouts over like CrossFit. Just feel into it. Nothing I say is, or anyone says, or that you read is knows better than you. So listen to your body. And if you are experiencing some type of like challenge or you're noticing you're tired, it's normal. It's fine. Just shift, rearrange. We're in a spiral. We're always in a spiral. And those times for stronger practices or other foods that you were enjoying in spring or summer, it's going to come back again. It's all good. It's all good. We're just spiral dancing around the universe, all right? What else? Herbal support. So this is the time of introspection, right? I'm getting so excited. Like, calm down, Devon. Take a breath. Adaptogens are particularly helpful right now. And always work with somebody before you just start like experimenting with herbs. Most of them are generally safe and are going to be very supportive, and always, use your best judgment before you just start taking things. But adaptogens right now are very helpful to rebuild. Fall and winter are our time to build up that physical and energetic reserve within us. I always call it our honey pot. So we have this like reserve, just this beautiful pot of like golden nectar, and it keeps us healthy. And it also is like our savings account for when life can get a little bit crazy and we need to burn the candle at both ends for a little bit. It's like we can kind of get away with it for a little bit of time because we have a nice, healthy honey pot reserve. However, most of us, we were never taught or shown how to refill this honey pot. There's also a lot of shame around like, needing to practice the things that are necessary to keep a strong, full honey pot. So for all these different reasons, most of us are depleted. And that's why nowadays endocrine disorders are like rampant as you know what, with thyroid issues and adrenal issues and reproductive challenges and all of these other things that are directly tied into keeping a healthy honey pot. So fall and winter are our time because it's so introspective and it's so much slower, right? Fall is like the downshift and winter is kind of like the pause. So it's like we're slowing down to just really like, this can be a great time to support our physical body with adaptogens. And so things that are going to be really soothing to the nervous system in particular, keeping that nervous system healthy. The nervous system and the honey pot are the same thing. Yeah. So like the mushroom family, the reishi and the cordyceps and the chaga. I am particularly fond of Ayurveda's adaptogenic lineup when it comes to herbs and things that I use and have used with clients. So ashwagandha, shatavari, shankapushpi, these are all just so loving. It's like being hugged physically and energetically. Additionally, for plant medicine, you can turn to things like flower essences, which support our energetic body as opposed to ingesting the physical part of the herb, which works more on our physical body, also energetically and mentally and spiritually as well. Engaging with the essence of the plant focuses more on our essence and our energy. So helping us to work through whatever we're carrying. So I suggested, looking at whatever we're carrying, what kind of sand or pebbles that are still there that you can take with you to transmute into the diamond or the pearl to use in the coming spring and summer, in the coming cycle. Flower essences can really help us to identify the roots of this and to make that transmutation process like even more powerful. What else? And of course, turning to oils, all the plants, you know me and my plants. And I have a fabulous blog post on my website talking about the different types of plant medicine that can support us, whether it's physical herbs or energetically with flower essences or essential oils. There's a lot of different breath exercises we can do to tap into this stagnant motion and identify whatever we're carrying. What else? I'm going to post an article that I wrote that has some more specifics about that. If anyone has any questions or things that you're noticing, I love hearing what you're noticing as we begin this shift onto the next phase of the wheel. So please share with me. I love conversing and not just monologuing. But yeah, things that are going to support this time of introspection so that we don't miss anything. You know, we have everything inside of us. We are always guided. We are always held. We know what's best for us. And because we live in a time and in a society that really just applauds 24/7, 365 going and doing, and kind of like a baseline of like a 12 out of 10, you got to perform all the time. The celebration of kind of like the spiral of life is shamed, right? Like if you tell somebody, oh, I spent this weekend completely unplugged and with my journal and meditating and doing all these things to really, you know, celebrate fall, they're gonna most likely look at you like you're crazy and it's not celebrated. But if you tell somebody like, oh, I pulled an all-nighter and like I'm all jacked up on coffee today because I wanted to get this new thing done and that's just been how I've been living for like a week, they'd be like, oh yeah, you're working hard, that's cool. And yeah, I don't roll like that, and I don't agree with that, because that honey pot is never gonna get filled up, and you're just like burning through. You know, this physical body has like an expiration date, so you know, I want to like burn through it even more so and like get that expiration date here faster. So when we tune in and celebrate, you know, like trees live for a really, really long time because they're just so in flow, and honor that spiral and honor that cycle. And they know when it's time to rest, when it's time to drop what no longer serves them, and when it's time to sleep, and then when it's time to like really ramp it up and suck up all the nutrients and then like blossom again. So be a tree. Yeah. And maintaining a sense of regularity and routine at this time of year is really, really helpful and really important too. So all that wild expansiveness of summer, we're now coming into that down slowness, right? Curling in before the stagnation of winter can be a little disorienting to the nervous system. So maintaining regularity, regular sleep schedule, regular meal times, and prioritizing rest, really helpful. Plant medicines I mentioned, eating seasonally we mentioned, shifting our exercise habits and routines I mentioned. And so lastly, the thing I wanted to touch on was ancestral support. So there is a reason why so many different cultures this time of year are honoring their ancestors. I mean, from Samhain or Halloween and the Day of the Dead, it is a time for, you know, better use. I can't think of a better term, so I'll just go with the cliche. The veils are, in fact, thin. Everything is so close to its death. The plants are dropping their leaves and are turning off before they come back. Or maybe they won't come back, right? To some of them we replant every year. So everything is dying. The fields are now going to become bare and rest. when I also said it's like the moon cycle. So it's the time before going into the new moon of just like darkness and complete nothing, the void. When we also looked at, when I was explaining the link between the seasons, the moon, and our breath cycles, this is the exhale before that space between the next inhale, which represents winter. So this is our exhale. So it's like, you know, releasing and exhaling vital life force. When we look at the menstrual cycle, and yes, some of us may bleed more on the full moon and some of us may bleed on the new moon. But just for the sake of today, let's just say that it's a new moon cycle. That is such in alignment with fall, such a potent and deeply spiritual and intuitive time as well, because the veils are also thin, right? Like we're bleeding for many days and so connected and in tune with the earth and with the spiral nature, and like we're not dying, but it's like, what am I trying to say? It's the closest that we'll be while we're still alive to death, that space in the void before whatever is next. So that being said, it is a time when connecting with those that have come before us, those that we are actually made of physically, and also those that are part of our soul family that maybe aren't in our actual physical lineage. Ancestors are also plants and crystals and animals. So this is that time, because the veils are thin, that we can really tune in and receive guidance. So taking time to create an ancestral altar can be a very potent practice to play with over the next 6 weeks. I invite you to do that. Keep it in a space in your home, ideally not in your bedroom, because you're kind of opening yourself to really receive guidance from yourself. And typically at nighttime when we're sleeping, we'd like to sleep and not be interrupted with like dreams and intuitive messages and insight. So keeping it outside of the bedroom. And there's no right or wrong way. So decorate it with things that trigger you to turn inward. So different symbols or different crystals that you really love, pictures of ancestors that have come before you, and hold an intention for yourself. You know, what's my next step, or what in this time of darkness do I need to focus on transmuting? What pebbles or grains of sand are showing up in my life that I'm taking with me, that I'm curling over and working with to reemerge in spring? And allow that answer and allow the guidance to come through, and spend some time there, especially over the next 6 weeks. This is that equinox portal that we're in before Samhain, before Halloween at the end of October. This is that halfway point in the dark half of the year between solstice and solstice. So use this portal right now. So yes, we covered a lot. If there are any questions or anything that you're noticing, please share. I will post a couple of articles in the link or in the comments section of this video. And yeah, my main invitation in the next 6 weeks to you is to really be open and slow down. Slow down so that you can receive. Slow down so that you can empty and create the spaciousness to then receive. And really allow yourself to shamelessly refill your honey pot and receive the guidance and the nourishment that is so here right now. That's like the time, the energies of right now. So I invite you to not go against that and to really take advantage of it. Like, it's super yummy and delicious and it's here for us. So that's what I have. Please share and look for those links in the comments for these articles that I've written and for more yumminess. All right, happy equinox and be well.